These are your skill cards, which you draw at the beginning of every turn. They have these numbers in the top left-hand corner, which indicate their strength. See, this one has 3, this one has 1. This one has 3, this one has 3, this one has 1. It goes up to 5. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay? Each card will have a different action on it, like executive order for action. For instance, choose any other player. He may make his character then take 1 action or move and take 2 actions. Or not move and take 2 actions, sorry. Basically, you tell somebody else to do something. This is a really good card because if you are unable to do something as you have already moved somewhere and you need to move again in order to save the day, be the hero, you can't do that because you've already made your move or your action. So you have to give somebody else the turn. The only dangerous part of this is that if you do that, they could in turn choose to reveal that they are a Cylon, which you have to basically trust them. This is a game of trust and deception. So there are many other cards, like piloting obviously helps with piloting. You got your repair cards and your engineering, or you can do some scientific research. Makes all cards added to a skill check positive if they're engineering cards, so that's always good. There are cards like strategic planning, where you play before any die roll to add 2 to the result. You can only use 1 of these per die roll, so you can't just keep throwing down these cards, like, you know, adding like 20 to a die roll that's only goes up to 8. So you'll notice that, like it says here, 2 tactics, 2 piloting, either 1 leadership or engineering. You get to choose one of those at the beginning of your turn, and those are down here along the bottom. Okay, so when you reveal that you're a Cylon, or if you're in the brig, nothing happens, and you just go to this location right here, called the Cylon location. There's one of 4 locations, and much like the rest of the characters going on the ship, they can go do random actions, such as launch all the raiders to attack, or they can bring a new crisis to come about, or they can even use their super crisis, which they get when they're turned into a Cylon. If you were not in the brig and you activate it, say you're over in communications, and you choose that everything's getting messed up, there's base star, there's like all these raiders, etc. Everything's going down, it's completely hopeless, and you reveal that you're a Cylon. Everyone's kind of mad at you because they're like, oh, well, now you're going to be a lot easier to win because you also just chose someone else to go to the brig, which means they had to pass a skill check to get out. They're in jail. So, sorry about that, it's a little big. These are the crisis cards I mentioned earlier. There are a couple different types of crisis cards. At the end of your turn, everybody draws a crisis card except a Cylon. A Cylon has to use their turn to create a crisis. Now there are 4 types of crisis cards. There are the setup crisis cards, where essentially you do whatever is on the picture. So in this case, in this quadrant here, you would place a base star and 2 heavy raiders. In this quadrant, you place 4 raiders. You place civilian ships along the perimeter here, and you place two Vipers there. Along with setting that up, you would also activate the raiders who were originally there on the board to begin with, not the ones that you just added, and that's also a complication. And you would also have a special rule. Look for this one, communications jamming. Keep this card in play until the fleet jumps. Players may not activate the communications location. So obviously that's not a good thing, so you have to make the jump as quick as you can to get rid of this card. So then there are skill checks, crisis cards, where either you'll get a pass, a fail, sometimes you get a partial pass. So if this one says you need a 7 in green and purple, it may say like pass, 5+, and then fail. So if you add your cards to the skill check, in the top left hand corner there with those numbers, you basically add those to a skill check. So all green and purple are positive. Now if you only manage to get 5 out of 7, you still get that effect, it's just not as good as the pass. In this case, for this one here, missing G4 explosives, if you pass it, so if you get a 7 while putting down green and purple cards, then there's no effect. But if you fail it, you lose one food, and all characters in the armory location are sent to the brig, which obviously, if you're in the armory position, you're not going to have too much fun there. So if, say for example, if a red card was added to this, that would also count negative. So if you had like two purple cards worth 3, that's 6, plus another one, another green card worth 3, that's 9, but then you had a red card worth like 5, that would bring it down to 4, and obviously it's not 7, you would fail. The other type of of a crisis card is the choice card. There's one for Admiral chooses and there's one for President chooses, and we'll go over that in a bit. These are both Admiral. I don't know why just that, but anyways, basically the person is designated the Admiral or the President, and they basically make a choice. Now both options are always negative, usually. I shouldn't say always. It's usually negative. For this one here, it's -1 morale, and the Admiral receives the President title. Or they can choose to -1 population, and the Admiral discards 2 skill cards. Now, obviously, the Admiral wouldn't mind being the President, but it also adds a lot to their plate, and they have to make all these decisions, and they got to do all this stuff around the ship that they can't really concentrate on one thing. So it's not always the best. But you still lose 1 morale, and morale is really hard to get back. So this is a more in-depth version of the crisis card. It's like this one here. It says current player chooses, and there's a pass or fail. And that's if you choose to do the skill check, or if you really want to bypass. If you don't think that you can make a skill check of 10 in purple and blue, you can just choose the or. And if you can roll a dice, if 4 or lower, place 3 raiders in front of Galactica and 1 civilian ship. If you roll 5 or higher, nothing happens, which is great. And at every crisis, there's little symbols in the bottom left-hand corner. You'll see like one of this one. That's Base Star launches missiles. So basically, you roll dice, and if it's a certain number, you'll damage Galactica. If Galactica gets damaged 5 times, you lose. Humans lose. This one here is activate heavy raiders, which means that the heavy raiders who board you move up one space, or if they're already in the boarding track, they get up 1 boarding track. This one here is activate regular Cylon raiders, and that just means that they either move up towards civilian ships, towards Vipers, anything like that, and if they are already on the same space, they attack them. And this one here on the bottom right-hand corner, this little like supernova here, that is a jump track token, which means that you would advance the jump track. And obviously when you get to 5, you jump the ship. Yeah, see, so right here, you just make your jumps until you jump. Or there's the boarding track. These are civilian ships. They look like this when they're face down. They have to be put face down, and they're flying around your ship. If they're destroyed, you turn it over, and you lose whatever resource is on the back of it. For example, this one here, if you destroyed, you lose this resource and this resource. So that's the 3 people and the ship. If we go back to this, you'll see that the ship is fuel and the 3 people is population. So you lose 1 fuel, 1 population. In this case, this one here has 2 population, which is a really drastic loss if you think about it. So you basically don't want to get these to be destroyed. You can go to like communications and move them around if you need to. These 2 cards are the Admiralty and the President title. In the instruction booklet that you'll get with the game, there is a hierarchy of which character gets it over which character. So say you had like Ty in the game and Starbuck in the game. Well, Ty is higher up in the chain of command, so he would get the Admiral title. Say you had someone who was political in there, they would get the presidency over someone like a pilot.